Sharia law.
Why this church is burning the Koran.
That Islam, especially Sharia law, especially the government part of Islam, is very, very dangerous and harmful.
And it is the Muslim holy book, the Quran, for Muslims, the Word of God. And few things could inflame their passions more than burning it. You think that's outrageous? In a moment, you're going to hear from this church pastor himself, and I'm going to ask him, why do you want to burn Qurans? We'll talk about Sharia law, why it's causing much of the controversy, and we'll find out what you think, too. You'll be able to share your views in a moment. Now, we've seen in-your-face protest over the mosque near Ground Zero in New York. Both sides of this debate have been loud and passionate.
I don't believe that every Muslim is a terrorist, but I do know that every terrorist that was on the planes that killed my brother was a Muslim.
No way! No way!
We think it's really important that all faiths are here. I think that's the message we should be sending.
I think this proposed mosque is very offensive to 9/11 families, New Yorkers, and Americans in general.
And that mosque is going to go up just 2 blocks from Ground Zero in New York if it's built. But it is not the only clash of culture and religion. Believe it or not, just a short trip up I-75 in Gainesville, Florida, is a church that's planning to burn Qurans on 9/11, the anniversary. It is called the Dove World Outreach Center, a church in a rural part of Gainesville in Central Florida, a church that believes Islam is evil, and a church led by a pastor who is not backing down. That pastor is with us now from his church in Gainesville, the Dove World Outreach Center, Pastor Terry Jones. Now, Pastor, are you still going to do this? I see you were denied a permit by the city of Gainesville for this fire.
Yes, we will still continue. We have got some First Amendment lawyers working on it. We have sent a letter to the city. We have requested that they reconsider our burn permit. But no matter what the outcome is, we shall still burn Qurans on September the 11th.
Now, why do you think Islam is the work of the devil, Pastor?
Well, because I think the fruits of Islam show it. We have declared 9/11 Burn a Quran Day because we want to send a very clear message to Islam. We want to, one, honor the people who were killed, murdered at 9/11, and also we want to send a clear message to Islam that Islam and Sharia law is not welcome in America.
One thing about that, not all Muslims are the same, not all Christians are the same, or all Jews the same. Not all Muslims accept Sharia law.
No, that is correct. But this message is not for them.
Yeah, but you're making a blanket statement here that Islam is bad because of Sharia law, aren't you?
We are stating that that Islam is bad because it teaches against the Bible. The Quran teaches against Jesus being God, the Son of God, rose from the dead, that the Quran does not recognize that. So, of course, from a Christian viewpoint, we consider the Quran to be evil and an evil book.
Aren't you, by doing this, insulting every Muslim, 1.5 billion Muslims around the world?
I believe that it is an insult to them, just as though they would, if they would burn the Bible. I am insulted when people burn the flag. But we feel that this message is so important that that this method is necessary.
But where,
that we must put a stop to Islam, and this is our way of expressing that.
Well, now let me ask you this: where does it in Islam? Where does it say that Christianity is bad and it must be destroyed, or that the rest of the world is evil, or where is it that you're what is driving you so hard here?
Well, we are actually aiming at the radical element of Islam. We live in America. Muslims are more than welcome here to worship their religion, their God. What we are demanding of Muslims is that they respect the United States Constitution and submit to that.
Pastor Terry Jones from the Dove World Outreach Center Church in Gainesville, thank you very much for being with us. There are obviously free speech issues involved in this now, but lots of people would disagree with what this church is planning. Joining us now to talk about this is Ramzy Kilic. He's Communications Director of CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations here in Tampa. Now, Ramzy, I have to tell you that most people in this country will call this outrageous in Gainesville, no matter what we think about 9/11. But what did you think when you heard about this as a Muslim?
I was very shocked and hurt. I'm born and raised in this country, and I've practiced my religion freely since a young boy. And it's just shocking to see this kind of anti-Muslim sentiment in our state, let alone our nation.
This pastor is obviously focused on Sharia law, and while he came across as, I think, completely out of tune with most America here, he does raise a question about religious law, Sharia, that many Muslims are saying is out of date and should be brought into the modern world. What do you think?
I think that's an incorrect assumption. A lot of the laws that Sharia address are laws that Muslims go by every day. Even in this country, we abide by the constitutional law, and a lot of the laws that we follow with Sharia don't even trump constitutional law. They're actually very similar to it. And while we're on the topic of Sharia law, I'd like to mention that with what he's doing with the copy of the Qurans on 9/11 is actually the Sharia-compliant way of disposing of the Quran. If one needs to dispose of an older copy of the Quran, is to burn it.
But you would say a fundamentalist interpretation of Sharia could be considered destructive to Christian beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, extremists can take things out of context on both sides of the fence. Muslims can, and non-Muslims can.
That's true.
But they can't marginalize Muslims in the process. People who, the majority of Muslims, they can't speak on their behalf.
Well, he's focusing on extremists, isn't he?
Sure.
I mean, his focus is on the radicalized extremist Islamic.
Right, but we all read the same copy of the Quran, and that's what he's doing here. He's burning a copy of the Quran, and it can come off as disrespectful, and it's provocative, and I think that's the message he's trying to send. Whether he is trying to offend extremist Muslims, he's offending all Muslims, period.
How should a Muslim react to this?
I think that we should react as any American should, give him the rights that he has in this country. It's freedom of expression and freedom of speech.
Ramzy Kilic from CAIR, and we thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, you've heard both sides tonight. We want to hear your view right now. Which do you think is more controversial here, the mosque near Ground Zero or the church-burning Korans? Text mosque, M-O-S-Q-U-E, to 94465 if you think the mosque is more controversial. And text church if you think the Quran burning is more controversial. Standard text message rates apply. And again, just text one word, either mosque or church, to 94465. We'll show the results later at just before 11 o'clock here. All right, some personal thoughts now, and this is my view. The wonderful thing about free speech in this country is that Pastor Jones would never be able to say anything like what he said to me tonight in any Muslim country. However, this kind of incendiary behavior is an insult to a lot of people, not just Muslims. And this small sect of 80 members, that's what it is in Gainesville, this small sect of 80 members doesn't speak for anybody but themselves. Sharia law seems to have done to Islam what radical fundamentalism did to Christianity during the Crusades. The difference is it took about 200 years to do it, but Christianity finally came to its senses. And Sharia law, a strict interpretation of Sharia law, has done very little to bring Islam into the modern world. That's my view. Kelly?